Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that a highly advanced AI has just completely deleted your resume, your social media profiles, and like your meticulously crafted official biography.
Oh man, that is a terrifying thought.
Right, and it didn't do it because of a glitch or anything. It deleted all of it because it analyzed your actual private behavior and basically decided that your public record, the face you present to the world, just wasn't actually you. It decided your official data was a lie.
I mean, we spend so much energy, sometimes our entire adult lives, just curating the character we play in the world. So to have this objective lens, look at that performance and say, I no longer believe this data, well, it strikes right at the core of our modern anxiety, I think.
Yeah, and that totally jarring scenario is exactly where we are starting today's deep dive. We are unpacking the astrological forecast for the week of August 10th to the 16th, 2026.
And we've got some incredible source material today.
We do, yeah. The material we are working from comes from Tarot by Hi C. That's pronounced Tarot by Hi C. And for you listening, you can find more of his insights at tarotbyhic.net. But what makes this specific forecast so unique is that it doesn't just list planetary movements.
Right. It pairs this week's massive celestial events with a really fascinating sci-fi allegory called the visibility problem.
Which is such a brilliant framing device, because through that narrative lens, we are going to explore how the astrology of this specific week moves us from suspicion to inspiration.
Yeah, we are looking at an astrological environment that is basically going to force us to shed false identities. Like, massive celestial events are triggering some serious truth-telling this week, both for you on a personal level and honestly for the foundational structures of society at large.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the biggest catalyst of the week, which happens right away on Wednesday. We have a new moon in Leo, which is also a total solar eclipse. But the source material specifically calls out that this is a south node eclipse.
Which is a huge distinction.
Right, so break down the mechanics for us. Like, why does it matter that it's on the south node, and what does that actually do?
Well, that is the crucial detail here. In astrology, the nodes of the moon represent our evolutionary path. The north node is where we are heading, what we are actively trying to build. But the south node is our karmic past.
The stuff we're leaving behind.
Exactly. It represents the habits, the comforts, and the identities we have completely outgrown. So a south node eclipse, it acts like a cosmic drain. Eclipses don't ease you in, and they definitely don't send a calendar invite giving you time to prepare.
Yeah, no warning whatsoever.
Right. When an eclipse hits the south node, it actively pulls away the things you are clinging to that just no longer serve you. It's not about building something new. I mean, it's about a forced letting go.
And because this drain is happening in the sign of Leo, we're talking about the ego, right? Leo energy is the stage, its visibility, its leadership and performance. So a south node eclipse in Leo is essentially a forced retirement from a stage you really shouldn't be performing on anymore.
Yeah, that brings us right to the evolutionary lessons of the week. We are looking at lessons surrounding hubris and overinflated egos.
Oh boy.
Yeah, downfalls this week will not be quiet ones, especially for leaders who cannot express humility, or really people who are completely unable to see beyond their own performance.
Their performance. And that is exactly where the visibility problem allegory perfectly illustrates the astrology. So in the story, there's a scientist named Dr. Mara Venn and this ancient AI on the moon called the Lunar Archive.
Right, the ultimate backup drive.
Exactly. It was built to be humanity's ultimate backup drive, preserving all human knowledge. But it suddenly stops recording because it realizes there's a massive gap between humanity's official preserved data, which is basically our corporate org charts, our highlight reels, our performed identities, and our actual daily private behavior.
The AI basically realizes that human civilization has been built on this polished, fake portrait of success. While all the contradictions, the failures, and the ordinary inconvenient truths were just buried.
Yeah.
So the archive maps the distance between public identity and private behavior. And the gap is just enormous. And that gap between who you pretend to be and who you actually are, that is exactly what this Leo eclipse is exposing in you right now.
It makes me think of an analogy. Imagine you have a wardrobe full of these incredibly expensive, perfectly tailored clothes. But you bought them for a life you don't actually live anymore.
Right, like a past version of yourself.
Yeah, like maybe they're for a corporate job you secretly hate, or a relationship where you have to pretend to be someone you're not just to keep the peace. This eclipse is basically the universe walking into your bedroom, handing you a trash bag, and forcing you to bag all those clothes up.
And the worst part is, we keep paying heavy emotional dry cleaning bills for clothes we don't even wear. I mean, we spend so much energy maintaining the illusion. That's why the new moon in Leo wants quiet, not action.
Wait, quiet? Not replacing the clothes?
Right, the advice here is not to panic when the old clothes get thrown out. Do not rush to the store to replace one false identity with another false identity. You don't need to have the whole future figured out by Sunday. You just need to notice what feels false and, let those cramped layers fall away.
If you're listening to this and thinking, well, I don't have a fake identity, I'm pretty authentic, I want you to look at your text messages from yesterday.
Oh, that's a good test.
How many times did you type, no worries if not, or agree to a plan you absolutely dreaded just to ensure harmony? That is the performance the eclipse is targeting. But if the eclipse is the cosmic drain pulling away the false identity, how does that actually manifest in our day-to-day lives? Because in the sci-fi story, massive systemic change doesn't arrive with a dramatic explosion. It arrives as, quote, a million awkward conversations.
Which perfectly transitions us into the communication minefield of this week, driven primarily by the planet Mercury. Mercury is the planet of the mind and communication, and it is currently in Leo.
And what does Leo do to Mercury mechanically? Like, how does that change things?
Well, Leo is fixed fire. It is bold, it is theatrical, and it demands an audience. So when Mercury is in Leo, your communication style turns into a megaphone.
Yeah.
It fundamentally changes what we are willing to say directly. The filter is just gone.
So no more biting our tongues.
Exactly. Truths are going to slip out before they can be polished, spin-doctored, or softened for public consumption.
So we are looking at an escalation of honesty throughout the week. But it's not a straightforward path, right? Because the source material points out that all week we are under the influence of this massive geometric pattern in the sky called a mystic rectangle. So break that down for us. What is that?
A mystic rectangle is a really rare configuration formed by 4 planets. They create 2 oppositions, which generally bring tension and conflict, and 2 sextiles and trines, which bring harmony and resolution. It literally looks like a box drawn in the sky. And this week, the 4 corners of that box are Mercury, Venus, Neptune, and Pluto.
Okay, so we have Mercury, which is our communication, Venus, which is our relationships and values, Neptune, which is illusion, spirituality, and fog, and Pluto, which is the underworld, secrets, and absolute truth. I mean, that is a wild mix bag.
It creates a total pressure cooker. Because on one hand, Neptune is blurring the lines, desire and clarity are not lining up right now. You might feel this intense longing in a relationship, but it could be completely outpacing what's actually there in reality.
Like projecting a fantasy onto someone.
Yes. The source actually notes that this configuration can bring severe disillusionment or deception in relationships or finances.
But wait, let me push back on this contradiction for a second, because the source also says this exact same mystic rectangle brings a desire to be fully honest and transparent and exposes well-kept secrets. So if we are facing Neptunian deception and Plutonian radical honesty at the exact same time, how is the listener supposed to navigate a conversation without just, second-guessing everyone's motives, including their own?
That is the crux of the challenge this week. The gift of this specific configuration is discernment. It forces you to pause and evaluate the evidence. When you are feeling that confusion, the key is to pay attention to consistency. Are you in love with someone's potential, or are you looking at their actual behavior?
Oh, that's huge.
Right. The mystic rectangle gives you the intuitive thinking to see through the deception, but only if you are willing to let go of the fantasy you've been projecting onto them in the first place.
So it's about looking at the track record, not the sales pitch.
Exactly. The hidden material is being dragged into the daylight, and it's often arriving sideways. Like you might have a conversation where a truth slips out through a joke or a strangely timed comment, and suddenly a power dynamic that was invisible is just right there on the table.
Wow, so if Monday and Tuesday are about this confusing escalation of truth and illusion, what happens as the week progresses? Because Venus is involved in this rectangle, and Venus tends to soften things, right? Doesn't that mean Thursday, when Mercury mathematically sextiles Venus, gives us a window to actually apologize or pitch an idea without sounding incredibly defensive?
That is an excellent deduction. Yes, Thursday is arguably the best day of the week for difficult conversations. A sextile is a cooperative aspect. So when Mercury cooperates with Venus, our social intelligence really improves. You can explain your boundaries or your needs without sounding like you are issuing a royal decree.
That's a relief.
But remember, tone and timing still matter.
Yeah.
Just because you are technically correct doesn't automatically make you persuasive. You have to give the truth a shape that another person can actually receive.
Give the truth a shape someone can receive. I love that. But I guess we can't get too comfortable because by Saturday, things get loud again, right? Mercury conjuncts Jupiter.
Yes, they do. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Whatever Jupiter touches, it makes bigger. So when Mercury, our communication, merges with Jupiter, words are spoken with dramatic flair and big-picture optimism. The danger here is what astrologers call inflation.
Right, like you successfully set a boundary with a friend on Thursday, and by Saturday, you've turned a simple, helpful insight into a 5-year manifesto for your entire life, and you're like, ready to start a cult based on your new philosophy.
Exactly. You miss the details because you were so intoxicated by the big picture. The advice here is to leave room for revision. It's wonderful that you've discovered new truth, but, write the new story of your life in pencil, not ink.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because we need to shift gears. Everything we've talked about so far, the personal unmasking of the eclipse, the awkward conversations at the dinner table, these are just micro tremors. The personal drama we are feeling is intimately connected to the tectonic plates shifting beneath society at large. We have to look at the macrostructural changes, and that means we have to talk about Pluto.
We do. Because if Mercury provides the words we are saying, Pluto provides the structural earthquake that makes those conversations necessary in the first place. This week, specifically from August 12th to December 10th, Pluto goes out of bounds.
What does out of bounds actually mean, astronomically speaking? Because it sounds like a sports penalty.
It does, yeah. Astronomically, it refers to declination. The sun travels along a path called the ecliptic, and the planets generally stay within a boundary of 23.5 degrees north or south of that path.
Okay.
When a planet travels beyond that degree, it is literally out of the sun's bounds. Astrologically, it means the planet is off the leash. It operates without supervision. Its qualities become wild, exaggerated, and totally unpredictable.
And we are currently in a very rare window for this, aren't we?
We are. We are in an 11-year period from 2025 to 2035 where Pluto goes out of bounds to the south for a portion of each year. This is the last time Pluto will do this for thousands of years.
Thousands of years. So you listening to this are living through a once-in-a-millennium era.
Yeah, and historically, when Pluto goes out of bounds south of the ecliptic, you see mass uprisings, revolts, governmental chaos, and collapse laying waste to a world of corruption, which, ultimately opens the field for reformation in a new society. During this 4-month stretch, Pluto's desire to uncover hidden truths and destroy superficiality is just cranked up to maximum volume.
I like to think of this Pluto out-of-bounds energy like a massive societal audit. It's like a forensic accountant has finally been brought in to look at the books of our institutions, our governments, our economies after years of systemic embezzlement. They aren't going to be polite about what they find, and they definitely don't care about PR. They just care about the math.
And that profound process of detoxifying the rot perfectly mirrors the climax of the sci-fi allegory we were talking about earlier.
Yes, exactly. In the visibility problem, when the corrupt system finally breaks, it's not because of a violent cinematic war. It happens simply because people just stop performing. Like, an administrator on Mars looks at the colony's records and realizes the whole economy is based on a spreadsheet error. A massive software company on Earth realizes its employees have been secretly running a totally different, better organization inside the official one.
The story notes that the old system broke not with explosions, but simply because it became embarrassing. Truth makes people start believing in false structures. They didn't fight the system. They just stopped believing in it and walked away. Pluto out of bounds gives us that enhanced ability to see through the facades of our institutions in our own lives.
And this is a massive, but while Pluto is tearing down the macro structures of the universe, we have a completely conflicting energy happening on the micro level. On August 11th, Mars enters the sign of Cancer, where it stays until late September. Mechanically, how does Mars, the god of war, operate in the sign of Cancer?
It's an incredibly uncomfortable placement, honestly. Mars is the planet of action, aggression, and piercing forward. The Cancer is cardinal water. It is the sign of the crab, the home, the family, and emotional security. So you take the god of war, and you basically put him on porch defense.
So the aggressive planet becomes fiercely defensive and emotionally reactive.
Yes. When Mars is in Cancer, we are motivated by emotional security. We become deeply protective of our personal turf. Anger doesn't come out directly, it comes out sideways.
Well, like passive-aggressive stuff.
Exactly. It's the classic passive-aggressive, I'm fine, when you are actually seething inside. The source warns that anger might erupt, especially around family and old injuries you thought were already sorted out.
So look at the tension the listener is sitting in this week. You have the macro energy of Pluto auditing the universe, tearing down the fake structures and demanding absolute truth. And at the exact same time, you have the micro energy of Mars in Cancer, making us defensive, reactive, and terrified of losing our emotional safety. Like, you might lash out at a partner over the dishes, but you're actually stressed because Pluto is shifting the tectonic plates of your entire worldview.
That tension is the defining challenge of the next 4 months, for sure. You are going to see people being far more emotionally motivated and reactive than they will ever admit. You might find yourself torn between tradition and authenticity.
So how does the listener practically handle that clash of energies? When they feel that defensiveness rising up this week, what should they actually do?
It requires a profound level of self-awareness. Over the next 4 months, you are likely to feel sudden, intense increases in emotional reactivity. You might feel an urgent, almost desperate desire for power or control in your own life as the institutions around you shift. When you feel that surge, pause. Ask yourself, are you fiercely defending something authentic, something that truly matters? Or are you just desperately trying to hold up a facade, a fake structure that Pluto is trying to tear down for your own good?
Are you defending the truth or are you defending the performance?
Exactly. Because as the eclipse clears away what no longer belongs, your future finally has room to arrive. But you have to let the old things go. You have to let the performance end.
Okay, let's bring this all together. This week is a profound journey. It begins with the sudden, undeniable unmasking brought on by the Leo eclipse, pulling away our outgrown identities. We are navigating a minefield of sideways truths, blurred lines, and a million awkward conversations as Mercury forces honesty out of us. And all of these deeply personal moments are inextricably linked to a once-in-a-millennium societal detox, driven by Pluto going out of bounds and tearing down corrupt structures.
Right.
It is a lot of pressure, but it is ultimately moving us toward a larger, more authentic declaration of who we really are.
It is a week of incredible transition here.
Yeah.
And we do not have to force the outcome. We just have to let it show us what is unfinished and, what still have life in it.
And as a reminder, all of the astrological insights and the incredible sci-fi narrative we unpacked in this deep dive today come from Tarot by High C. You can dive deeper into his offerings or even schedule a one-on-one reading at tarotbyhic.net.
To leave you with a final thought today, I want to return to the end of that sci-fi allegory. At the end of the story, the Lunar Archive, this ancient AI, built specifically to preserve and remember every single piece of human data, makes a profound realization. It realizes that if humanity is going to survive, if we're going to build a new world where people aren't just performing their identities, the AI has to change its core function.
What does it do?
For the first time in its existence, the machine begins learning the value of forgetting.
The value of forgetting. Wow.
So I will ask you, the listener, if your identity is, at least partly, a meticulously recorded story you've been telling yourself for years, what data about who you are supposed to be do you finally need to just forget?
What an incredible question to sit with. Think about that wardrobe we talked about at the beginning of the deep dive. The expensive clothes tailored for a life you don't actually live anymore. It's time to bag them up. Don't worry about what you're going to wear tomorrow. For today, just leave the bag by the curb, walk back inside, and enjoy being a little lighter.